to Second Wind Society, where we believe the most important chapters are the ones we write next. My name is LaShanta, and I'm so glad you're here. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed the video, that you decide to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment just letting me know what you thought about the video, or if you've ever experienced what I'm about to share with you. Any little nuggets, positive nuggets that you would like to drop, please share in the comment section. What I'm going to talk about today is my IVF journey. Well, our IVF journey. So in 2023, I married my best friend. In April of 2023, I married my best friend. And we decided that, well, we always knew that we wanted a baby together. We both have children outside of the marriage, but we always knew that we wanted a child together. Back in the day when we were together, it was not possible because my tubes were tied. I got my tubes tied when I was about 19. My doctor, he begged me not to do it. He begged me not to do it because, and I say beg me, when I say beg me, I don't mean he was please, you really don't want to do this. He just kept coming back and reiterating and making sure I was absolutely certain. And, you know, he must have asked me about 5 times because I was so young. I wasn't married. And I had, but I already had 2 children, and I was like 19, going on 20, and I felt like that was already more than I had ever intended to have. I only wanted 1 child. So I looked at my situation, and I was like, oh no ma'am, not me. So I got them tied. It came into my mind because that was the only way that I would be comfortable admitting to my mother that I was pregnant again. And I felt like that would make it easier for me to tell her if I say, yeah, I'm pregnant again, but I'm getting my tubes tied. So the more I thought about it, the more sense it actually made to me. I wasn't where I wanted to be in life, and I knew that the more children I had, the harder it would be for me to get there. So I said, okay, this is it. This is all I need. I got my boy and I got my girl. I'm good. So that was, what, 2007. Fast forward to me getting married in 2023 and not having any kids with my husband. We both love kids. Kids love both of us. So it only made sense that we, you know, procreate. So we decided that, you know, well, he wanted me to have a baby way before we got married, but I was like, oh, I will not be nobody else's baby mama. That's out. So I was like, once we tie the knot, then, you know, we can get the thing rolling. And I thought it was going to be super easy because, remember, I tied my tubes because them things was coming too fast. And I was like, I don't have a problem having kids or getting pregnant. You know, he wanted another baby since what we call our old relationship, which was in like, when we first got together in like 2008, all the way to like 2015, 2015, I think. And back then, when I told my mom that I wanted to have another baby, her exact words was, girl, you need a baby like you need a hole in your head. So I was like, touche. Okay, you know, you got a point or whatever. So, but back then, I already had started, like, you know, babysitting the idea. In like 2013, I started babysitting the idea. I ordered my records from my, I ordered my medical records to see exactly how my tubes were tied. I found out they weren't tied, they just had clamps on them. I think they're called Filshie clamps. So I was like, okay, this should be easier. Piece of cake, piece of pie, it'll be easy. At that time, I was probably like 28, 29, something like that. And I found out, I did my research to find out how much it was gonna cost. Around then, they was like, oh, it can be about $7,000, but even then, you only have like a 30% chance of getting pregnant after your tubes are untied. So I was like, I ain't worried about that. I never had a chance. That's never been me. I've never had a problem getting pregnant. You know, so obviously we didn't do it right then. We ended up breaking up in like 2015, I think, 14 or 15. We ended up breaking up, and then when we got back together in like 2021, I believe, we started to talk about it again. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm long-winded. But I just want to make sure I don't miss nothing. I want to tell y'all from the beginning to the end so y'all can feel like y'all was there. But anyway, so fast forward to April 2023. Baby, when I tell you no time was wasted, June 2023, them things was untied. I was on somebody's table up under their knife. You hear me? So I got my tubes untied, and I was like, oh, it's on now. Any day now. Any day now. Nothing. So I'm like, dang, okay, well, So the doctor was like, the older you get, the slimmer your chances, because the number of eggs decrease and the quality of the egg decreases, goes downhill with age. So when he said the number of eggs, he was like, most women, their eggs start to diminish around the age, I guess, like 35. And at that point, I think we got married, I think I was 37 or 38, one of those. So I was like, oh, if eggs are the problem, I'm not worried about that, because my grandmother, got pregnant with my aunt when she was in her 40s. And, I just started thinking of, family members and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to have a problem with eggs, with an egg count. Now, the egg quality, I said we might have a problem there, because when I found out what goes into egg quality, keeping a balanced nutritional diet, lots of exercise and water, and just all these vitamins and this, that, and the third, that is not your girl. Sometimes it is, but not all the time. Like, that's something that I struggle with, going in and out of being healthy, taking care of myself as far as working out and eating right. That might be a problem. So that's okay. I'll get on it and work on that. So my tubes untied, nothing happened. They want you to try 2 years before they go to, any extraordinary measures. But if you're, they call it advanced maternal age, then right away, you can start trying and doing extra stuff right away, because time is of the essence at that point. So I was like, okay, if we don't get pregnant by the time I'm 40, I'm stopping. Even though I got friends and everything who've had babies and stuff after 40, they said it's ghetto, so I'm gonna believe them. But anyway, so didn't get pregnant. So I said, on work, I started doing extra stuff. I started joining all of these TTC communities. TTC, that's the acronym for trying to conceive. It's very supportive communities, by the way. Downloading a million apps, like menstrual cycle tracker apps, and we were having timed intercourse. I was taking every vitamin known to man. Do you understand me? Every vitamin. I was taking everything. My dresser looked like a whole pharmacy. It made no sense. And I wasn't the only one. All of the women in the TTC community was doing the same thing. We would recommend different vitamins and different supplements and different herbs and all kind of stuff. I found out some crazy stuff. I heard some crazy stuff that people do to try to get pregnant, like real crazy stuff. But I tried it anyway. But I did the whole Geritol. I heard about the Geritol. I did the different tea to drink. It was some crazy stuff. Apparently, people were taking the period cup. Well, how the period cup works is you squeeze it. It's like a little silicone cup, and it has like a small little tube about 1 inch long, and the little silicone cup is about like that big. and you take the cup and you squeeze it closed. It's very flexible. You can flip it, squeeze it, but you squeeze it closed and you stick it up your vagina like a tampon, and while you're on your menstrual cycle, while you're menstruating. And then when, every couple of hours or every day or whatever, you pull it out by the little tube. This is disgusting, I'm sorry. But yeah, it is what it is. But you pull it out by the little tube and you empty it in the toilet or whatever. So women were having intercourse, capturing the semen, and keeping it up there, like keeping it up close to, the cervix or whatever, wherever it go. They was keeping it up there to try to, get the semen in and make the semen stay. I tried it once. It spilled. I was disgusted. I'm good. And my husband, he be with the shits, okay? Whatever I said, let's try, he was on it. He was on all that. Community, if you watching this, drop some stuff in the comments of what you tried or what you heard about. I know I mentioned the Geritol, the bottle, and that is some nasty stuff. Oh, that stuff's so nasty. I was so mad I didn't get pregnant after I drank that Geritol. Oh, it's nasty. Ugh. With the rest of the story. So, I told y'all I'm going with it. Okay, so still didn't get pregnant. So started trying little at-home remedies to get pregnant. None of that was working. So then we went back and told the doctor, we ready to try some more stuff. So they wanted us to do what's called, they told us about IVF, and then they told us about an IUI. So IUI is called intrauterine insemination. IVF, in vitro fertilization. Many of you have probably, I'm sure are familiar with IVF. That's where they retrieve as many eggs as possible from the woman, and they get as much semen as they can from the man, and then they fertilize the eggs with his semen, and they leave them for a few weeks or whatever to see if they grow how they need to grow before they put them back into the woman. That's in layman's terms, y'all. But and the intrauterine insemination, or the IUI, that is what people know as turkey basting. So that's where they take the man's semen, and the doctor take the man's semen and they put it. It's something, I guess it looks like a turkey baster, I guess. And they insert it all the way into the woman, and they put it all the way up to, I think, her cervix. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they put it all the way up to her cervix, and they insert his semen. So it has no choice but to go the right way, or to the right place where it needs to go. And it don't have too far to swim, because when you just having regular intercourse, it has to swim and swim and swim, and they have to be strong to get to where they need to be, and this, that, and the third. But with the IUI, they put it right there. They wait until you ovulate and you drop the eggs. They put it right there, boom. So they were talking to me about IVF. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing all that. Like, that's too invasive. It's not even that deep. It's not going to take too much to get me pregnant. I'm just going to try the IUI. So they had me do all of this blood work. Whenever they do a lot of ultrasounds, they do a lot of tests. They run a million different tests. You do genetic testing because they want to make sure that neither one of you are carrying like any type of gene or anything that's hereditary or whatever that you can pass on to the baby. Any type of like abnormalities or diseases or anything like that. So me and my husband were good on that. They test his sperm that they was swimming. They tested me. Everything was good with me. They said that I have more eggs than the average woman my age. The doctor was very optimistic or whatever about the IUI. So I'm excited. They set my appointment. I'm telling all of my TTC sisters in the groups. We do the IUI. 2-week wait, nothing. So we say we're going to try the IUI again. Because I told the doctor, no, I'm not doing no IVF. I'm never going to do that. That's too much. It's too expensive. It's never that serious. Like, I'm not doing that. We'll do the IUI again. Second time around, did the IUI. 2-week wait, nothing. Now I'm worried. I'm like, dang, and I done got my hopes up. Y'all should see my Pinterest boards. It's ridiculous. I done started planning, preparing, all of that. Because once I get my mind set on something, I manifest it to the fullest. Baby names and everything, right? So we did the third IUI. They waited till it was time for me to ovulate. Timed it right when I forgot to tell y'all about the medicine. They give you like a trigger shot where you have to do the trigger shot. You have to give yourself a shot, but it's very, 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 very time sensitive. They'll tell you exactly what time to take the shot. You take the shot at a certain time, and that makes your eggs drop. That makes you ovulate. Once you ovulate, that's when they go in and insert the semen. And they also had me taking medicine orally. They control your whole cycle when you're doing fertility treatments. You bleed when they say you're going to bleed. You stop bleeding when they say you're going to stop bleeding. You ovulate when they say you're going to ovulate. Like, it is amazing how much control and how far science has come. I studied so much and learned so much about the female anatomy and the female reproductive system that I was convinced that I could be an OBGYN. I already was a cardiologist. A cardiothoracic surgeon. I know I just messed that word up. A cardiothoracic surgeon from Grey's Anatomy. That's where I got my degree. But anyway, I was switching to obstetrics. Yeah, OBGYN. I'm switching up being an OBGYN because I studied so much. But anyway, so taking the medicine, they have you on birth control pills. They have you on all type of hormones. My face, I was breaking out so bad. My emotions were up and down. My hormones were up and down. Like, while those people were literally playing with my system, After we did the third one, nothing. Didn't work. Now I'm discouraged. I think I want to do the IVF. My husband was on board. He like, okay, baby, let's do this. Because at first, like I said, we both always wanted a child together. But when we started the fertility process, I was more gung-ho about it than he was. And the reason for that was because finances. He wanted everything to be perfect before, we got pregnant. But I was telling him, hey, we don't have that kind of time. Like, if we gonna do this, we gotta do this. And so he was like, all right, bet. So, but anyway, I said that to say that after going through all of that stuff, before thinking about IVF, I was like, you know what? It still didn't work. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. But now it was him. At that point, it was him that wanted it more than me. Because he was fully invested at that point. He was like, nah, we doing this. We having a baby. Because I was about to give up. Like, I'm good. And he was like, no, we in it now. We going to do it. Then I said, okay, we going to do it. So I gathered all of the information and everything about the IVF. I researched so much. I looked at 1 million YouTube videos, 1 million story times like this one about, IVF process and stuff. I finally decided, okay, let's do it. So what happens with that process is, first you have to get financially cleared. Then after that, they put you on the cycle that you want to be on, whatever month cycle that you want to be on. Once you're on that cycle, you locked in. You get your nurse teaching, and that's where the nurses explain how IVF works. They explain all of the medicine. They show you how to inject yourself. They show you how much medicine you need. They give you a calendar, and the calendar tells you, okay, this day you take this medicine, this day you take this medicine. For the rest of the week, you take only this medicine. Next week, you add this medicine with those two. And then in 3 days, you add another medicine to those three. And then this day you stop. This day you start taking the shot. This day you add this shot along with that shot. Like it's that deep. I was so excited, but I was scared too because them needles, baby. And you have to give yourself a shot or have somebody else give it to you. I was really scared. I wanted the doctors to do it, but you have to do it yourself because it's certain times that it has to be done, and it just have to be done at home. So got all of my medicine, follow my calendar to a T. So by the time it was all said and done, I had to have injected myself with probably 4 different types of medication, and orally I probably took, and I'm not talking about the vitamins, I'm talking about the prescriptions and the hormones. Orally, I probably took about 4 or 5 maybe. Imagine all of those hormones playing with your hormones. I was up, I was down, I was crying, I was happy, I was a mess. I give myself a shot at the very same time every day. I numbed myself. I numbed the area with lidocaine, and I had a heating pad. Like, it was a whole thing, okay? And it worked. I did not feel the needle going in or coming out. The medicine that I was taking was to get my eggs juicy or whatever. I think you take the medicine for like a few weeks or whatever, and then they monitor you like weekly on an ultrasound. Weekly to a couple of days on an ultrasound for like a month or two, for like 2 months probably. Get as many eggs as they can is the goal when they do the egg retrieval. Oh, pause. I forgot to tell y'all about the HSG. So I had to get the HSG after my tubal reversal surgery because the HSG confirms that your tubes are not blocked. I got the HSG at Baptist, and when I tell you that was the most painful part of any of the experience, what they do is they take dye and they put it in both of your tubes to see if the dye comes out of the other end, and it's like they do like x-rays or something. So one of my tubes was blocked, but they was like I still could get pregnant like that. So fast forward back to IVF because I still didn't get pregnant. But after doing all of the medicine for a couple of weeks or whatever, or 2 months or whatever, you have to do the egg retrieval where they go in, they extract as many eggs as they can. You are under anesthesia for that. They do put you to sleep. And they were able to retrieve, I believe, 8 eggs for me. They said that was really good for my aide to test his semen again. Semen was good. They fertilized my eggs with his sperm. I did a fresh transfer, and then they call you and let you know how many matured like they were supposed to and how many are no good. So of that 8, we were able to keep 4. So that means we had 4 tries to have a baby. But we did the transfer, and we did the 2-week wait, and we did not get a positive pregnancy test. When I tell you devastated, because how? Like, why is it this hard? It used to be easy. Why is it this hard? Like, I couldn't believe it was that hard. So after that, I said, okay, we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do a frozen embryo transfer. For this one, I was still taking out my vitamins. I was still trying to eat healthy because even though I had already produced the eggs and I couldn't help the quality of the eggs, I could help my uterine lining and I could keep down inflammation and things like that with what I chose to eat or what I chose not to eat. What else did I do? I did acupuncture because acupuncture have great benefits. I have an acupuncture video that I'll link down below. I wasn't trying to conceive when I did that acupuncture video. That was recently. But I did acupuncture because it's really good at keeping down inflammation. They also have acupuncture specifically geared towards people trying to conceive. And I got a book called It Starts with the Egg. I still had to do some medicine, but not as much as before because we weren't doing an egg retrieval. We do this transfer, and I'll never forget my doctor. Me and my husband was in the room when he was doing the transfer, and right when he shot the embryo into my uterus, I remember he said, "Bullseye." And that gave me all the joy in the world. Like, I was so happy when he said that. I was like, oh yeah, he know what he doing. Oh yeah, he confident. He know this word. I was so happy. It was not painful, the transfer itself. The only thing that was very, very uncomfortable about the transfer was you have to have a full bladder. Have you ever had a full bladder while being examined by a doctor, like somebody going in you? That was the most uncomfortable thing. That was very, very hard, very, very uncomfortable. I had drunk a bunch of water, and then I was waiting in the waiting room, for a little minute. And when I finally went back there, we had to get gowned, and I had to get gowned and all of that. And they had me sitting there waiting. I had to pee so bad. I was literally begging them. And they were like, just hold on, just a few more minutes. Dr. Brown is coming. And I was begging them. I was holding on to my husband's clothes, like, please, I gotta pee so bad. I'm gonna pee on myself. Like, it was bad. And they was like, I begged them so much that they finally was like, okay, just go let a little bit out, but make sure you still keep enough of it in. And I was like, this is the most bizarre crap I have ever heard of in my life. Like, never have I ever heard of trying to pee a little bit and keep some in. But I did it. I let some out and I held the rest. And it hurt so bad, like my stomach was hurting, like cramps. Like, when you gotta pee, nothing, you can't think about nothing. So when they finally called me back, I was more excited that I was gonna be able to pee after this than I was excited about the transfer. It took my mind off of being excited about the transfer. But they do that so that the doctor can see. Apparently when you got a full bladder, they can see better inside your body, like in your uterus and stuff like that. They can see much better and see where to put it. He went ahead and did the transfer, and then he was like, just go home, relax as normal. You got to tell me not to be extra, because I was going to do everything that I heard that would help. I was like, don't touch me. I got to sit still. I got to lay down. I can't move for a week, for this 2-week wait. Like, I got to eat this in these 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. I didn't do all that. But, oh, and I forgot to mention, we inserted two embryos. Not because we wanted to have twins, but because I felt like it would be a better chance if one of them didn't stick, the other one would. They put the two in there, and he was like, bullseye. So I felt good about that. And it's this thing in the TTC community where you're supposed to eat French fries. The salt from the French fries is supposed to do something. You're supposed to eat pineapples. The bromelain in the pineapple core is supposed to do something to help the transfer, to help the baby stick, to help the embryo stick to your uterus once they put them in there. So, 2-week wait. So by the end of the 2-week wait, not even the end, like I said, a couple of days before, I started feeling different. I started feeling differently. I was like, okay, I want to test. And that's the hardest thing. It's so hard not to test too early. But I wanted to test. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. But then I just started feeling different, and I was like, I'm just gonna take a test. And y'all, I got my positive. I was so happy. I couldn't believe the test was mine. So I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna tell my husband? Those who know me, I always gotta do the most, more than necessary. So I'm all on Pinterest looking for, cute ways to tell him. So boom, I found a cute little way to tell him. I got a box, like a gift box. I got a pair of baby slippers, like newborn slippers, and I got the pregnancy test and a pacifier, a passy, and I put all of those in the box, and I presented it to him. So he was very excited. He was very happy. It was a beautiful time. Every day, I kept testing so that I could see if the line was getting darker, if the line was progressing, and it was. And I was just so happy, and I was just trying to be so careful and do everything I was supposed to do. And then once we finally got to the full 2 weeks, and I think a couple of days after that, I was supposed to take a blood test at Quest Diagnostics so that they can confirm for the doctor that I was pregnant, A, and B, how pregnant I was. So it needs to be a certain amount for them to confirm that you are indeed pregnant. And that amount needs to keep rising. It needs to increase. That number needs to increase, because that means that you're pregnant, you're getting more and more pregnant, you're getting further along. It doesn't need to decrease. If it decreases, usually you have a miscarriage. So, did the blood test, and tragedy struck. The morning that I was supposed to get the call to let me know what my numbers were, to let me know if I had a confirmed pregnancy, I got a call that my little cousin had been involved in a hit and run tragic car accident. She was only 17 years old. So I rushed to the hospital to be with my family and to follow her progress, or lack thereof. In shambles, nervous wreck, shaking. It was horrible. It was horrible. Family was all over the waiting room for days, passing out. Just grief, unbelievable grief. The grief was so thick, like it just was horrible. But I just couldn't, I couldn't not be there. I had to be there every step of the way. Immediately after getting the results that she had been declared brain dead, in the middle of all of the chaos in the hospital at that very moment, I received the phone call from the nurse. And the nurse called, and she was so excited, and she was like, congratulations, telling me that I had a confirmed pregnancy and my numbers were sky high through the roof. Meanwhile, my blood pressure right up there with it. Like, she didn't know that, but I'm talking about right then in the moment. So I just thought it was ironic that those two things happened in mere seconds of each other. Soon as I found that out, she called right in the midst of it to tell me that I was pregnant. So, worst news of my life accompanied by the best news of my life. And I'm knowing that when you're in the early stages of pregnancy, stress is very dangerous. So, but what was I going to do? Needless to say, the rest of that month was very hard. still hard, honestly. But I tried to, be in good spirits when I could. Next step, baby's first ultrasound at the fertility clinic. So we went to the fertility clinic, they did the ultrasound. It was a very happy time, exciting time. We graduated, and basically what that means is when you graduate a fertility clinic, that means that everything is doing well, all of your numbers are doing well. The baby is continually growing in the right direction. Those numbers that I spoke about, they're getting higher, they're increasing. So you graduate, meaning it is no longer necessary for you to be under the care of the fertility clinic, which means they graduate you to the care of a regular OBGYN with the rest of the pregnant women. So that really makes it feel real. I was very careful what I ate. I was very careful physically what I did. I was careful to get enough sleep. I was careful to drink enough water, all of the things. My cousin gave me a fetal heart monitor for at-home monitoring of the fetus, embryo fetus. And I really didn't know how to use it. I heard on YouTube I heard before that you can't detect the baby's heartbeat before I think 8 or 9 weeks or something like that at home. I was only 7 weeks. I said I wanted to try it anyway. Didn't really know how to do it. Didn't know what I was looking for. Didn't know the area to be in, but I just wanted to try it anyway. So when I finally got it and I tried it, I didn't hear anything. And I was like, I could just be doing it wrong. And even though I saw people on YouTube that said you can hear the heartbeat, they've heard the heartbeat, at 7 weeks. This is what made me feel like I can hear it at 7 weeks too. But the simple fact that technically you're not supposed to be able to hear it until however long, 10 weeks or whatever, 8 weeks, 9 weeks. I said I won't be, I won't let this make me nervous. But I let it make me nervous. Of course. So throughout the 6 weeks of pregnancy, I was able to, I didn't have morning sickness per se, but I would feel like a little woozy here and there. And I would eat just enough to make that feeling go away. And I was very careful not to do anything that would cause or make morning sickness worse. So I did a lot of research and found out what was the best things to do to combat that before it even started, because I cannot stand to be nauseous. That would be the only feeling that I could associate with pregnancy, the wooziness. So one day, the wooziness kind of stopped. I didn't really feel it anymore. That, along with the fact that I couldn't detect a heartbeat on the monitor, had me extra nervous. Now, the problem was I had already graduated the fertility clinic, so I couldn't go back there for an ultrasound. I had already made an appointment and chosen my OBGYN, but they don't take you until you're about, I believe, 12 weeks. And so here I am going on 8 weeks. And so that means I have weeks before I can go and check something out. I just couldn't take it anymore. So what I did was I got online looking for places I can just get an ultrasound, looking to see how I can just get an ultrasound. Well, I'm not proud of it. I can't believe I'm about to tell y'all this. I still can't believe I did this, let alone that I'm about to tell y'all that I did this. I am not proud of this. I am not proud of it at all. I was desperate, but I still was dead ass wrong. I still should not have done this. And it's embarrassing, but it's my truth. I did it. I have to hold myself accountable. And I guess this is how. So y'all go easy on me in the comments, please, because I already know I messed up. I already know it was horrible to do. So yeah. So I called an abortion clinic and pretended that I was going to get an abortion so that I could get the free ultrasound. I called, I made an appointment. They were able to see me that same day. So I went as soon as I got off work, come back for part 2 to find out what happened.